Hi and welcome to RC Kicks. On today's show, well, we're going to be back looking at the RC Kicks collection and we're going to be featuring the rally cars in the collection. Now, I've done a road car video that's already out, so I'll put a link at the end so you can check that out if you're interested. But we've got loads of rally cars, so we better crack on, and some of them really nice. So the first rally car in the RC Kicks collection is this. Now this is a true Tamiya icon, the Tamiya Lancia Rally under kit 58040. Now this came out on the 21st of November 1983 and ran for 2 years. And as you can see, it definitely has a very iconic look. No idea what Tamiya were thinking about at the time. I get the feeling they had this chassis and they just went with it. But the chassis under this is the ORV or off-road chassis. Doesn't really fit a road car, which is why we end up with this bonkers massive arches, huge great big wheels. But I must admit, I like it, and the way it looks is bonkers, so I'm pretty sure we're never going to get a Riri, and I'll come to why I think we'll never get a Riri in a second. But I was lucky enough to pick up one of these. Now they're getting so hard to find, and when you find one, if it's got the original bumper and the original body and the tyres are in good condition, as those parts are super hard to find, you'll be looking to pay roughly £300 to £400 or even a little bit more if it's got the box, the manual and everything like that. So yes, they are not cheap. Also, running them now is a little bit risky, as if you bang this, obviously you damage the bumper, you're wearing out the tyres that you can't replace. So really these are total shelf queens. But luckily Tamiya actually produced a re-release which came out on the 24th of May 2001 and sold until 2004. But I looked this morning and they're still available if you want to get hold of them for about £170 to £200 depending where you shop around. And that's kit 58278. Looks very different, as it looks like a real car actually instead of this weird concoction, and on a TA03 RS chassis, so the wheels are in the right place. And I must admit, I do like the chassis it's on, so I might end up getting one on the show to build as well, but really I need to focus on restoring this. Now this one has never been painted. This is the original white of the plastic. So I could remove the decals, and I have got a replacement set of decals for this. What I thought I was going to do is I bought a set of the reproduction decals, and I was going to use MCI decals, mix them together, and that would give me a new set of decals for this. But I still do have the original back section. The person that I bought it from wasn't the original owner. No idea why it only got this far and then never got the rear. I honestly don't know, or painted up. And from the story that I know about this car is it was driven like this, and it was hit on the front and broke the plastic under the front, and then it was put on a shelf and never driven again. Now when I got it, that part was still broken, so I fixed that. The bumper itself doesn't seem to have any damage on it, nor does the body, so it's sat on a shelf and done absolutely nothing. Luckily for me, because the tyres are beautiful. It's kind of gone a little bit yellow, but I could fix that. But I kind of like the age of the patinas, but having the tyres in beautiful brand new condition, because these are impossible to get and they're insanely expensive. Now the chassis underneath this, let me take the body off and you can have a look, is again very vintage. It hasn't been messed with at all, not even slightly. So it has all the original electronics in it. Oh yeah, you've got to take the bumper off on this one. It has all the original electronics in it, and it's just a time capsule. Nothing's changed on it at all, and it hasn't had any real work done on it. Yes, granted, there is a lot of reproduction brats and frogs that you can use parts of to bring it back, but this is all totally original. So I like that kind of patina that it's got, so I'm not going to mess with it at all. There's no diff in this. The original ones didn't, whereas if you pick up a frog now or a brat or any ORV, they do have that feature, as well as the dog bones are different, and there's a few other upgrade options. But I really like it, and I'm super chuffed to have it in the collection, and one day I might actually paint it up properly. The next rally car in the collection is this, the Delta Integrale. This is on an XV-01 chassis, and it is a highly capable and has a great following. It's a bit of a quirky one, but it works very well and drives brilliantly. Now the motor is over the front of this car, and all the electronics are tucked away nicely in their own little pods. Now there's many different versions of the XV-01. There's the XV-01, XV-01 Pro, XV-01T, and then the XV-01 TC T Pro. Also, there's been lots of versions of this. Obviously, this is the Integrale, but there's also been the Impreza STI, the Subaru XV, the Gatso Racing TRD 86, and there's also chassis only kits you can get for long dampers. I guess they're the ones that are a little bit more desirable, as I haven't seen that many of them around. Now this one is the Integrale, and this one is known for its livery and how difficult it is to fit, especially around the front. These decals are super difficult. Obviously I've got a full build video of this on the channel if you want to go and check it out. To put these decals on, you definitely need to use the water technique. There's no way you can attach these in one go, that's for sure. The only difference with this one that I've done is I've changed the tyres just to be a bit more realistic road kind of tyres and to fill up the arches a little bit. Apart from that, this one is bulk standard. Now I did look around today, and you're looking at, you can get them down to almost £200, £210 to pick up one of these, which is an absolute bargain. Now this is partly due as we're getting the XVO2 Pro out soon, but that is going to be £337 or thereabouts. So there's a big difference, and there's no guarantee that that chassis will perform as well as this one, and there's tons of upgrades for this. So if you're thinking about doing a bit of rallying, this is probably one that's definitely worth a look, that's for sure. Next in the collection is this from Tamiya, the Audi Quattro Rally, which was produced all the way back in July 1983 and ran to 1985 under kit 58036. And I know what you're thinking, well, this looks very much like the Lancia Rally. Actually, completely different chassis. This shares its chassis mainly with the Wild Willy. Yes, believe it or not, the original Wild Willy was then adapted, and then they put it under a rally car chassis. Again, with the, what were they smoking on those days? It really has a sister car that's much closer to this, is the Opel Ascona 400 Rally, if I pronounce that correctly. And it's looking a bit sorry for itself, I know. But when you look closely, this is a perfect restoration project kit. I bought this, I got it for a reasonable price. I've actually had it for about 2 years, but we'll you know, it's coming, I promise. So now this kit was re-read by Tamiya. It was under kit 58667, and it's the Audi Quattro A2 Rally, and that roughly sells for £139, and it's on the TTO2 chassis. So of course it looks more realistic than this goofy look. This one is fully complete apart from the body. Obviously what happened, from what I can work out looking at it after receiving it, it was originally built and painted with car paint. Then all the car paint fell off, so they painted on the outside. And then it was driven around a little bit, as there is a few scuff marks across the top, but it doesn't look like it's done that many miles at all going by the tyres, which is point one. Yes, it has the very difficult tyres to get hold of, and these ones are in great condition and they're hardly worn and there's no cracks, so that is a massive tick for this one. Also, the chassis is in pretty decent condition. Yes, it has been run, but there's no damage. It just needs stripping down and rebuilding and giving a good clean. Now, as for the body, the plan is to try and save it if possible. If that's not possible, I will replace the body and take all the hardware off and put that on the new body. Now, you'll also notice that it has all the spotlights. Yeah, these are very fragile and they break really easily. So that's tick number 2 for restoration, that it's got the fog lights, it's got all the front, the spoiler and the rear bumper, which is all the things that are really difficult to get hold of when you want to restore one of these. As for the decals, well, being that they brought out the Riri, you can use some of those, and if you mix it with some of the MCI decals, you can actually get it back looking rather spiffy. So that's the plan, and I know a lot of you would love to see this restored on the show, and I must admit, hands up, I do end up falling into a bit of the trap of the latest kits coming out to get them on the show, build them, because they're kind of relevant to the market, but I know you really love watching these being restored, so I must bump this one particularly a little bit higher up, as it looks like a basket case, but actually it's a little diamond. Prices of these are now going insane, and they get more and more expensive all the time. Now we turn our attentions to one that I'm super chuffed to have, and they're not that easy to get hold of. It's this, the Tamiya Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 4 on the DF03RA chassis. Now these were a limited run, so they're not easy to find, especially the chassis, and this body is actually really difficult to get hold of. That's a whole other story. People that have watched the show for a while would know what I mean. But I was lucky enough to get a new inbox one from a very famous YouTuber who bought a job lot, and this one came in it, and they actually produce this in a red box. I've got a whole build series on this. If you want to see it, it's on the channel. Now it's basically a dark impact. Yes, believe it or not, underneath this is this chassis, but with the arms changed, the suspension and the uprights. But Tamiya took this and turned it into this, and we are lucky to see it. Now you wouldn't think it, but in the box, when you take the lid off, this is what you got inside the kit. Yes, this was a part that came in the original kit. It's the dark impact body. Now granted, you're not supposed to paint it up like this, but I thought, hey, while I was building it, I did it, and I bought the decals myself and fitted them. The only thing I did differently is I didn't put the silver stripes along here that you can actually see on this one, because I didn't want it to show up too much inside the car, and being that it's in black, I thought it would be fine to do this, as most of it will be hidden away underneath. But they do look very different, but yet very similar, as you can see, and it turned out to be a really good rally car. Now the idea of this is to keep all the mud and muck from getting inside, so it's velcroed down, and then you just put your normal body on the top. So very impressed. Now this isn't the first time we've seen this kit. This is basically, you could say, a re-re. The original was 58219, and it came out on the TL-01 chassis all the way back on the 16th of June 1998. Now if you know the TL-01, I looked it up today, and I can't believe that Tamiya put almost 50 different bodies on that chassis. So it's kind of like the TT02 of today, I suppose. Now they have everything from the Ferrari 360 Modena on 58289 all the way back to the Calsonic Skyline GTR on the 58191. So there was a lot of cars on that chassis. As for this one, it's pretty much perfect. The only thing I actually did wrong, which I've talked about before, is this spoiler is a little bit too vibrant red. It needs to be a little bit deeper to match this decals here. So at some point I'll pop it off, blow it over in a dark red, put it back on. But apart from that, it's going to sit on the shelf and be a lovely shelf queen. And now we move on to the next car, and you're going to have to bear with me on this one. It's a little bit confusing. I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. Now we turn our attention to this. Now this is a fully restored TA03F, which is 58210, which is released on the 24th of February 1998, and it's the Subaru Impreza WRC. Well, it is now, and it is all legit. This is a proper Tamiya body, and these decals are Tamiya decals, but it didn't start out like this. The chassis on this started life with that body shell, but not this exact one, but a completely knackered one. I bought this chassis to restore it on the Fix and Flip project. If you haven't seen those, there's quite a few videos, and it gets a little bit out of control. So I'm going to try and explain it as short as possible without confusing the life out of you. So I bought this chassis that's been restored, and it had this body on it that was all old and destroyed. Now I couldn't replace this body because you can't get this body. Well, I think you can now at L&L models, but at the time you couldn't. So I decided I wanted to keep it legit, so I looked around at other bodies that this chassis, the TA03F, came out with, and that was this. So you could get, back in the day, a TA03F Subaru Impreza WRC. So this body was used again on a re-re that came out not that long ago. It was the Mexico, I think it was, on a TT02 body. So I managed to pick up a body set, so that gave me the body, which was correct, but it didn't give me the right decals. So I was going to go with aftermarket decals until I found another car that actually hadn't been painted and came with the correct decals. So I bought another car, which I then gave away on the show after I finished that one. Otherwise I had two. Now this then ended up with a fully restored car with a correct body and correct decals. Apart from one small little mistake, I actually put the wrong rear lights on. These are the wrong stickers for the lights, because I'd started going down one road and then I changed So there you go. So what we end up with here is a correct car as if you could have bought it. And it's all original, apart from the wheels. I've upgraded the wheels, and yes, the wheels are white. They will be painted gold. I just like this stance, and I changed the tyres as well. That's not original. I've still got the correct wheels, and they are the correct wheels for this car as well, and the correct tyres. I just preferred this, so that's why I changed it, but I have got them. So that explains a little bit about why I have this, because when I changed over from the Evo body, I really liked the look of the Evo 4, so then that's when this one came out, and then that's what led me down the road to add this one to the collection after this one. I didn't say it made much sense, but hey, we just go with it, right? But the biggest aspect of this was how much I spent. I spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds on this. I could have bought, for the same price, a new in-box, never built version of this. But I spent so much restoring it. It is absolutely beautiful all the way through. And being that everything is original, I've even got the anti-roll bars in it now, which are really difficult to get hold of, and I'm super chuffed with it. And I think because I put so much time, money and effort into this, it's one of my favourites, I must admit. Now, the next one is a bit controversial, and I wasn't sure if I was going to include it in the rally section, but it's this. It's a killer body Subaru Impreza on a TC-01 chassis. So, yeah, be triggered, comment below. Now, surprising enough, this works pretty good as a rally car. I've adjusted all the suspension to get extra ride height, and it's pretty decent. Now, I wanted it to be a tarmac driving rally car, so this is fine for my needs. But as you can see, I did take it rallying off-road, and it was pretty good considering when you look at what the chassis is, and it comes as a Formula E chassis. Now, I didn't paint this body up myself. This is a Killer Bodies off the shelf. Unbox it, put it on, put your holes for your mounts, and away you go. And that's why I got it, because this is a driver. As you can see, it's absolutely filthy, and probably the only car that's absolutely filthy and going to stay that way, as it personally adds a little bit of patina to a rally car. And being that I'm going to drive this, I don't care if the body gets scratched up or anything like that. It's purely for blasting around. But there you go, my TC-01 with killer body. Next we move on to one of the jewels in my collection, and that's this, the Porsche 959 by Tamiya. Now, this is kit 58059. It was originally released on the 29th of October 1986. It actually ran until 92, so quite a long period of time. And this one I remember back in the day, and it was like the holy grail. These kits were so expensive back then, but today, well, they demand insane money. Lucky enough, I picked this up about 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, before prices went stupid, and I actually paid £250. But it gets better. It came with a ton of parts, an original body, not this one, but I've still got it, an original unpainted body, 2 sets of original decals, and all the parts needed to put it all back together again, so there's no cracks, no damage at all on this chassis. Also, the Technigold motor in it is in lovely condition. There's no damage to it. Most of them that live in these cars are, because it sits in the middle of the chassis, they're kind of protected. So I have a brand new unmarked Technigold motor as well. Yes, so I think I did rather well. And it gets even better. I sold one of the decal sets, and it covered almost half the price of the kit when I bought it. So I'm super lucky. Now, I lose tons of money on lots of RC, but this one is one that I actually made well. Well, I'm never going to sell it, so technically I lost money, but you get the idea. Now, this one is fully restored on the show, and it's one of the first videos, restoration videos I did, so they're pretty bad, but if you want to go see them, go check them out. I stripped the whole car down and rebuilt it completely. This is not an original body, but they're original decals. The original body I've still got, but it's so fragile that even in the box it started to get a bit damaged around the back here, but I'll keep it in its condition as it is, so that I don't know whether one day I'll have it painted up professionally or whether I will sell it on. I honestly don't know, but the polycarbonate is so weak and so old, it's insanely fragile, and it's kind of breaking down all the time. Apparently that is affected by light as well, so it changes color. It's the first time that Tamiya did blow molding, and when they brought this out, it was so weak around the front and the back that people were complaining that the bodies were just disintegrating. So it was a new technique that they tried just to get that whole kind of the curve that comes back underneath obviously makes it really difficult to make these. Now we've moved on and technology is advanced. You can get aftermarket bodies of these, which I have. I'll get it right now. And as you can see, you can get Team Blue Groove stuff now, which is just as good pretty much. Details not quite as there, but obviously a lot cheaper. Yes, I know a lot of you have been waiting for me to paint this one up. This is a fully driving kind of chassis swap fake version so that you can take it out and actually drive it. And it works brilliantly. I built it on the show. I just haven't painted it. Anyway, we digress. And I don't want to talk about this too much because you hassle me all the time about painting this up. Well, basically it's finished. I just need to paint it. It's fully driving, fully working. I just need to paint it. Even the cockpit's been done, so I just need to put some paint on it and some stickers. Anyway, we digress from this kit. Now, when I had this, when I fully restored this, I sent off the drivers and I had them professionally painted. Now, apparently, the driver heads that come in this kit are probably some of the worst that Tamiya did from a amount of detail on their faces. But he did the best job he could, and they're beautiful. So having that as well, at some point, I maybe would like to have a professionally painted body where all these stripes are painted properly. I don't know, we'll see, maybe at some point. Obviously these are getting more and more expensive, so throwing more money at it. Another thing I did, which was a bit stupid and quite expensive, is the original wheels that you get on this, the yellow ones, that was never on the car originally. That was Tamiya's little change. I guess they did it to add more colour, because with the white wheels like the original car, it is a lot more bland, and the yellow wheels do make it pop, so I can see why they did it, and it was a good idea. But these are aftermarket alloy wheels that were made by a fan of the 959 in the 959 group, and he made a small production run of these, and this is the same style of rim that there's actually on the original car. He copied it when he made these, and these are now selling for insane money as well. So whether you swap to these wheels or not, it's personal choice. These wheels are probably just as expensive as if you want brand new ones from the kit, but I actually like it. It looks a bit more realistic. Now this is not a completely never driven. The bottom does have some kind of marks, only light use, but the rest of the chassis is all now in really good condition. What are you going to pay for one of these now? Well, I had a look today and prices vary massively. A lot of it depends on the condition. You know, a really raggy one sells for probably about £200 up to a beautifully restored one. You're probably looking at about £700 to £800 depending on fit and finish and how original the decals are. A new in-box one is probably well over £1,000, sometimes even a little bit more than that. Whether we'll ever see a re-re of this, I think that we're going to get it for the 50th anniversary. Well, I'm hoping, Tamiya, if you're listening, Tamiya, and you watch this show, make this your 50th anniversary release, and don't change the chassis. We want it just as it is, but change the plastics to make them stronger. But the actual design of the chassis, brilliant. But I think what they may do is take the body, put it on a different chassis, and then have it as a street version where you don't get the decals. We don't care about the decals, Tamiya. We just want it. Do it as a limited production, limited edition, 50th anniversary, collector's edition, whatever you want, just make it as that is, and we can put our own decals on it. And because the reason is not to drive the price down on these, but so many people want one of these and so many people want to drive them. Like me, I would love to take this out and rag it around, but obviously I'm not going to, because I'm going to break it because it's old. This is completely a shelf queen, but I'd love to build one brand new out of the box, 2, have it in the collection, and 3, take it out for a drive, and it would sell bucket loads. Anyway, I digress a little bit, but there you go, that's my Porsche 959. And last but not least, yes, technically it's not a rally car. Well, the chassis is not a rally chassis, but I painted the body up to look like a real-life rally car, and that's this, the Porsche 934 Coupe, and it's the 45th anniversary kit that Tamiya brought out this year. Now, this originated because of a mistake. While I was cutting out the body, I put the body pin holes in the wrong place. Yes, but luckily I managed to get hold of a whole new other body set, so I painted it up, and that's box art. So this one was kind of languishing what to do with it, so I decided to turn it into what you see now. And I'm so glad I did, as I absolutely love it, and it's my favourite looking rally car, so that's why I couldn't leave it out, even though the chassis is not quite rally. Now, it's not finished. These wheels are going to be painted white, and the rim around the outside is going to be maybe flat metal, or I might do the whole rim white. I haven't decided yet, and then if I'm not too sure about that, maybe I'll change it. Also, these tyres, I want to change them for more proper rally looking tyres. I'm not too sold on these ones as well, so you have to excuse that, but the body's looking absolutely stunning. And we fixed the problem with the body pin holes by putting the spotlight covers in that position, which goes through those holes and holds it in place. But it turned out absolutely stunning. Now, if you want a new inbox one of these, they're still selling on eBay and you can get them. You're looking at £370 to £400 at the moment for a new inbox kit, and a built one sold for £320, which happened to be Andy Robinson RC's one that he actually sold on. So they are still available if you want to get them. So there you go, that covers pretty much all my current rally cars in the RC Kicks collection. Next we move on to buggies. Oh, God. This video took 12 hours to film, so you can imagine what the buggy video is going to do. Oh my gosh. Thanks very much, please like and subscribe. See you on the next one.